I've got my fish friends here, and I have a question for you. How can you tell the difference between a fish that's alive and a fish that's dead? Well, these guys look alive because they're swimming around and doing stuff and eating things and being fish-like. How do you know if a fish is dead? It's on your plate, you say, ha ha ha, very funny. Well, a fish that's dead in a fish tank or in a stream or a pond or a ocean, it just floats. It goes wherever the current is taking it, and the difference is that one is moving, one is not. Sometimes, though, there is a fish that you might see in an aquarium, if you've ever owned fish before, and you look and you say, oh no, it's dead, it's upside down, it's floating at the top. But then you tap on the glass and the fish goes, and it squirms, wiggles, and you think, oh, it's not dead. And how did you know? It looked dead for a minute. It's because it resisted. It persisted in life. It moved, it wiggled, it did something. It fought the stream just a little bit. And that's how you know it still has life. In the Bible, Paul talks a lot about this concept of dead and alive. And he uses them in different ways in different books because he's proving different points. He's making different points. But in Ephesians, to the church in Ephesus, he said it this way in Ephesians chapter 2. He said, "And you were dead in trespasses and in sins, in which you once walked, following the course of this world. You were dragged around by whatever current was around you. You were dead in it. You put up no struggle, no fight." Verse 3, "In the passions of our flesh, carrying out the desires of the body and the mind, and were by nature children of wrath like the rest of mankind. But God," verse 4, "but God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ." This is something that God does in us. We were dead. We were dead. And God makes us alive with Christ. Now, in the different areas that you'll read in the Bible, and I encourage you to read them, where Paul is talking about this dead and alive thing, it can get kind of tricky. But there was an illustration that was told me that it connected really well with me. And I want you to consider this for a bit. Just step back and say, okay, you've got my attention. Let me hear what you have to say. I'll be the judge for myself. All right, here's the story. So we're going to pick a random person. This is just an illustration to help you understand this dead and alive thing a little bit. His name is Billy Bob. Maybe there's a Billy Bob watching. I'm sorry I'm using your name, but I just picked a random name. So Billy Bob, he's a sinner. He's dead in sin. And we're going to use an illustration for something that a lot of people struggle with, and we're going to use it as an illustration for sin because it's something that we know is damaging to our bodies. We know that it's really hard to kick the habit, and so I'm going to say that he's a smoker, and he started smoking. So Billy Bob, for this illustration, he started smoking when he was 11 years old. 11 years old. A friend of his, he shared a cigarette with him, a little bit older than he was, and he shared a cigarette with him, and he got into the habit. It made him feel cool around the other guys, and so he started smoking. And when he was in high school, he ended up smoking a couple of cigarettes a day. He would bum them off of friends, or he'd ask them for, he'd get somebody to buy him a pack now and then if he happened to be in the right place at the right time. And by the time he was finished with high school, he was up to a pack a day. By the time that he could buy the packs for himself, he was up to 2 packs a day, and it was he made plenty of money in the career that he chose, and he was fine. Now, he had always heard that cigarettes are bad for him. He had experienced some of the effects that cigarette smoking, but he's young and he's vibrant, he's fine. And he always knew that the body was the temple of the Holy Spirit, and he heard these things from his parents, and yeah. But later, for a decade later, when he's in his 30s, it suddenly all clicks. It all hits him at once, and he says, why am I smoking? And he says, I don't want to smoke. This isn't good for me. This is not in relation to what God has given me a body for. And he just said, you know what? I'm gonna stop smoking. And Billy Bob, he's a determined guy. So he decides, I'm gonna get rid of this. And he takes his cigarettes and he throws them in the trash. He doesn't even give them to friends that smoke. He just throws them away. And then he takes his lighter collection, where he picked up a lighter from every one of the states that he was in, every country he visited, every lighter he thought looked cool and unique. He took all those and he threw them away, his whole collection. He takes the leather jacket that meant so much to him because he had it for so long. He gave it away also because it smelled like smoke and he didn't even want it around. He cleaned his apartment. He stopped hanging out with his friends that smoked because they were a temptation to him. And even when he was in front of a grocery store or someplace where he saw someone smoking, he'd look the other way. He'd walk all the way around them so that he wouldn't even smell the smoke. And he was good. 1 day passed, 2 days passed, a week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed. And Billy Bob is thinking, wow, this is amazing. About the 4th week, he begins noticing that he could smell things that he couldn't smell before. And his taste buds began to change, and he could taste flavors that he had forgotten about. About week 5 and 6, he realizes that he can go upstairs without getting exhausted, and that he starts enjoying jogging and exercise. His head feels clearer. He doesn't have the headaches he used to. His whole body seems to be reacting differently as a result of stopping this habit. And so it gets to the point where Billy Bob is 3 months, 4 months, 6 months without cigarettes. After having smoked so many years, 6 months free from these cigarettes, clear from these cigarettes, and he feels great. Well, one day, he's walking out of work with a coworker, and he didn't know that she smoked, but all of a sudden, she pulls out of her purse a pack of cigarettes and lights one up. And before he knows what happened, he has a cigarette, half smoked between his lips. And he throws it on the ground as she drives off, and he's just angry at himself. What happened? How did this happen? 6 months. He was so good. That night, he finds himself going off to the corner store and buying a pack of cigarettes, smoking one cigarette and throwing the rest away out of anger. Why was he there again? How is he back holding that thing he hated? And he finds that every night becomes just this, what he ends up doing is going to the store, buying a pack of cigarettes, smoking one and throwing the rest away with such anger and self-loathing. My question to you, in this point in Billy Bob's story, is Billy Bob free? Is he free? Well, I remember when I first heard this story, my impulse was no, he's not free. Is he? Could he be? and the person that was telling me the story, that was explaining to me what Paul was trying to say in these letters, was that, yes, Billy Bob is free, even though for now months after, he is still finding himself stuck in that loop of that, and he hates it. He is free. He is free. He is free because before, when he was a slave to cigarettes, the urge came up. It's time to smoke. And he stopped what he was doing, and he went outside, and he lit up a cigarette, smoked it, one or two, put the pack away, went back to work, went to play, go back to the movie, go back to with his friends. It was the cigarette, the urge said, do it, and he did it. No resistance, no animosity. He was okay, just part of life. He was dead in that current that had caught him. There was no struggle. There was not even a little fight against the current. He was just, well, okay, that's where we're going. All right. But then, after he had that resolve, that persistence, that determination that he was not going to smoke anymore, and he had those incredible 6 months. But even though he is back having that next cigarette, and he hates it, there is resistance. There is a persistence past his current reality. There is a determination that there is a goal, there is something beyond what he's currently experiencing or enveloped in, and he will persist through into a victory. And he is free. He is free. Now, is there a point when Billy Bob would become enslaved again? Yeah. When would that be? When he realizes, well, if he realizes it at all, that he doesn't fight it anymore. This urge comes up, and he goes, what am I going to do? I've tried so many times before. Whatever. I'm giving in. And he just goes right back to smoking without any concern. I'm using cigarettes. This is just one illustration of so many things. This is just something visible that we're all very judgmental about, especially in California. It's something we can see. And so, but what's hard, and what this text was talking about, is that there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of fleshy feelings and mind desires. And I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the hatred, the bitterness, the resentment, the pride, the love of show, the love of self over other people, the desire to put someone down or put them in their place or to be right over somebody else. All these things are fleshly, they're earthly, they're disgusting. And these things will kill us. They will choke us to death. So we must resist them, and we must persist towards the goal that God has set us out in. Because Jesus has given us life, and he has given us the victory. So we must persist. We must persist forward. So imagine the illustration of a slave. And you can think of a slave in the Bible times, maybe a slave to a Roman citizen, or to something like that around those in that area. Or you can think about in our country's history, where we had slaves in our country where people were not free. We were a country that's supposed to be a country of freedom, but people were not free. They were slaves. They were property. And imagine a really terrible, mean, cruel slave owner that just enjoys hurting the people that he claims to own. And when he speaks, when he says, "Hey, you," to whoever he's speaking to you're put yourself in the mind of the slave. You tense up and you think, yes, sir. What do you want me to do, sir? And you are riddled with fear every time you hear him speak. Now, one day, someone else comes along, And now this is another slave owner, but this slave owner, he buys you, and this slave owner tells you, you are mine, but you are free. The law is different than what it should be, but you are mine. I purchased you with my own price. I purchased you. You are mine, and you are free. You live where you want to live. You can live here. You can live wherever you want, but you are free. And when you don't have to listen to that master anymore. Let's say some years go by and you finally get into the mindset of your freedom, that you have autonomy, that you can make decisions for yourself, that you have somebody that will back you, that a person that has paid their price, your price for you, and would let you know, and would support you, would come to your defense, a good person that is you're in relationship with. And now let's say you're in the market, that market you used to go to all the time, years later, and you're picking out, what do I want to eat today? And you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna make a salad, and I'm gonna make potatoes, and I'm gonna, you're imagining things. Okay, so I'm gonna make these things, and all of a sudden you hear this, hey, you hear that voice, and that fear jumps up into you. That fear jumps up. And then if that voice of that former master yells out to you and says, come over here, pick this up, go do this, you run after, and you go by impulse, by instinct, by gut reaction. You say, oh, okay, I'll pick that up, I'll do, and then you stop and you think, no, I'm not owned by you. Someone else bought me. Someone who's kind, someone who cares for me, someone who's good. I don't have to listen to you. This same relationship we have to sin. We were once dead in our trespasses. We were once enslaved to the bondage of sin. But because of Jesus purchasing us, we no longer have to obey sin. We might get those fear reactions now and then, but we don't have to obey it. It's not the thing that drives us. It's not the thing that will consume us. We can't let it, because we are not enslaved to it anymore. We are in relationship. We are in servitude to Christ. In James chapter 4, verse 7 and 8, James 4, 7 and 8, it says, therefore submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, and he continues on, and purify your hearts. And so he's saying you need to persist towards God. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Persist towards God and resist the devil, because this is the only way to live in the life that God has given you, and to accomplish the goals and the purposes that God has given to you to accomplish. That sometimes, I've been in this place, and that's why I'm using it as an illustration. Sometimes I've been like a fish in the current and going, oh God, I'm so tired. Take this current away from me. Just take the current away. Make me swim. Make me swim. And you know what? My theology does not encompass that allowance anymore. God won't make us swim. He's given us a tail. Another illustration goes a little far. He's given us a tail. We must use it. Swim, because we've been given the life in us to swim. So we must swim. God has given, he's provided the food for the birds of the air. He cares for the birds of the air, and he provides food for them, but he doesn't drop the worms in their mouth. They have to go out and get it. And God has given us the ability to create and to dream and to accomplish, to go and do and to act. And to depend on God to do what he's given us the ability to do is ridiculous. And to say, take away this temptation, or take away this craving, or this longing or desire. No, God has given us the ability free will and the ability and power and life force to push and to go and accomplish these things. And Proverbs 24, verse 16 says, the righteous fall 7 times, but the wicked, they just fall. The righteous fall 7 times. And if you fall 7 times, that means you got up after every time you fell. The righteous, the thing that distinguishes the righteous from the wicked are that the righteous, they get back up. Both fall down, but the righteous get back up. The righteous keep on swimming when that current is strong, when that current is against you, you just keep swimming. The life of a Christian is one that persists. It's the one that resists the devil and persists towards God. We can't do one without the other. We must resist the devil and persist towards God, because he is the one that gives us this life to swim. So I encourage you to swim, to just keep swimming. You have a life to live, so live it. Live it fully. Can I pray with you? God, thank you for the life force that you put in our members. Thank you for the life and the power and the free will that you've given us to choose, to decide, and to move. Thank you for the freedom that you've given us through your Son Jesus, freedom from sin and life forevermore. May we live in it. May we live in it fully, and may we swim, persist towards you. I ask these things in Jesus' beautiful name. Amen. Amen. God bless you.